Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being here today. So we're covering a topic, or touching on a topic today, opening the door to a fabulous topic, and one that is going to be flowing and regular here on this channel, and that is of women's wellness. So today we're particularly touching in on what we can do when we're given a diagnosis of a fertility or menstrual issue and there's nothing other than a drug or an operation that can help, and how, delving into that, where can we go with that? Is that the end of the road? So this is something that will have touched every single one of you, or you'll know someone that has. 50% of the population have a womb or have had a womb, and this intricate balance that makes up our female system, our reproductive system that affects our whole body, is out of balance in general in the world. The feminine is out of balance. We're rising at this time, which is incredible, but I know that many of us are feeling that imbalance, and for a lot of us that's actually manifesting in physical symptoms. And so really today this is about empowerment. This is kind of the ethos of our show here, the Soul Show, really getting into what can we do about that. What are things that have helped me? What are things that have helped others? What are things that have helped you? What are the problems, the issues, the things that we're facing? And by coming together and sharing what we can do about those things, can we remember other ways that we used to heal ourselves? This is all about rewilding. You know that rewilding is my theme. I almost called the show the Rewild Show. But how do we get back to that? Those ancient practices? How do we get back to our natural self? How do we get back to balance? What is balance? Is that a myth? And is there other ways to heal ourselves? So this is really coming from a very deep place within me. We all learn from our own experience, and it's said that healers and people that work to share and guide often, or always, not often, are always doing that from their own experience. So if you're living this, you know then how to pass that on. You want to pass on the learnings, the insights you've had. And I feel so strongly about that. So since a young age, I've had menstrual issues, and I'm gonna, over the series of these videos touching on this, I'll be sharing a little bit more about my own womb journey, and introducing and inviting other women on to share theirs, because I feel like this is something that we've just stopped talking about. I've really felt so alone on my own journey, and I really don't want any other women to feel that way. In the past we would have been more obvious community. Maybe you live that way still, and if you do, that's fabulous. But that openness to know what each other is going through, to learn from other women, to be held, to be in that feminine space, to talk about it openly with our partners and our family and our friends, we would have known. We would have known these things. We would have been able to know what each other was going through, and I think that's such an important part of the journey. So this is healing for me, even to be able to share this and to hear you share yours. So as ever, as I go through, please, I urge you to feel free and welcome to share your story, to jump in the comments, just send me a message. And if there's something you resonate with, or something you want to ask about, or something you could share with me that might help, please, you're very welcome. This is what this is all about. So I had menstrual issues from a young age. And about 4 years ago, I'd been off the pill for a couple of years. I'd been on the pill for a very long time, and that's a whole other video in itself, talking about the contraceptive pill. But this manifested and then sort of ended up coming out in symptoms of what seemed like menopausal symptoms, and they were indeed menopausal symptoms. So I was 33 at the time, maybe even younger, and I'd been having these symptoms for a while, predominantly hot flushes and anxiety, like real sort of despair anxiety. And when I first went to the doctor about this, so again, this is often our first port of call, our doctor. So in our world at the moment, we've become set up so that the doctor, the medical doctor, the Western medicine doctor, is often our first and only port of call to go and help. Now, first of all, a GP is not specialised, so often they send you on to somebody else. But we've got to think about what this system is built upon. So the Western medical system is actually very new, it's not ancient, and it's really built upon, it was actually first started studying dead people, yeah? Dissecting dead bodies and understanding how organs and things work. So we can see where the start of that is, but it's now become the foundations of working by what can we take and add in, like i.e. a drug, or what can we take out or change, i.e. surgery. And that's a strength, right? That's the strength that it's built on. So in some ways, great, that can really help. But there isn't the root cause healing that we would have had in our communities in the past. And there's not the breadth of knowledge, yeah? One person doing one specialised job that is completely removed from who you are as a person and your community. You can see how then it becomes like a real chasm between your problem and the solution. And also when the solution is based upon symptom management, this is really important to remember. So this isn't a video about the medical system, but I will be talking about this a lot because this can be very disempowering. If we're going to somebody to ask for help and their basis of being able to help you is symptom management, you can see how getting to the root cause of really what needs healing, what needs our attention is not there. Is not going to be, that's not going to be helped. I'm kind of waffling a bit, but what I'm trying to get at is if symptom management, taking a drug is sort of what they're going along, yeah, where they're coming from, then actually understanding the root of the problem, and the root is really, you know, our root is at the base of our cervix as women. So it really is a root cause problem, can be the foundation of a lot of our other issues in life, our feminine health. You can see how we're not actually getting to healing. We're just getting to cover it up. And that is, in essence, what the contraceptive pill does, yeah? So I'll share more about that and how I came to be on that in other videos. But taking the contraceptive pill to cover over and to balance my hormones obviously does not balance your hormones at all. It is suppressing your reproductive system. And that's what it did to me for many, many years. So it suppresses the problem, covers it up. You take hormones in, and so your own hormonal and that cycle is completely suppressed. So we all know that the whole point is to enable contraception. A lot of people take it for other issues like me, but it's stopping ovulation. So within that, something crucial to our health as women, that we're meant to have a cycle, we're meant to ovulate, that delicate balance of hormones is meant to flow in its own cycle, is completely suppressed. So it makes me wonder what that leads to down the path. And that is essentially where I am now, and I know so many others of you are as well. So it's not just the contraceptive pill that suppresses that. We live in a world that is environmentally affecting us. Yeah, think about microplastics, endocrine disruptors. There's actually hormone in the water from the amount of us taking the pill. You know, all the things that we drink and eat, the pesticides, outward pollution that's coming in, and then add to that stress and the lack of nutrition in our food, the lack of natural light we have, the lack of nature, the lack of grounding. You can see really where we're getting into a bit of a very deep, it's not a bit, a deep epidemic of women's problems. Like, this is my field, and I see countless women that have come to me before I was unwell and since, just in conversation, that are struggling with different problems which really all have the same root, that we've come so disconnected from our bodies, from ourselves, and from what can really heal us. So we're asking for symptom management for people that don't really understand the female body and its intricacies, that aren't coming from energetics, emotional issues, you know, how those things can affect us. What environment are you living in? So I'll give you a bit of sort of an example here. So I was on the pill for a long time. When I come off, I didn't get my period back. And after about a year of this, I'd had one period, and I went to see a specialist. I was referred to a gynecologist, and they didn't do a hormone profile on me. So they didn't look at any of my sex hormones, my reproductive hormones, the balance of those. They did a scan to make sure physically, again, that physical element, there wasn't any like blockages or anything sort of more sinister going on. Gave me the green light, said, okay, we don't know what's going wrong with you. You don't present as a polycystic ovary syndrome, but what we're going to do is we're going to give you that diagnosis. You're in the 1 to 5% of women that don't exhibit any of the symptoms, i.e. excess body hair, excess body fat, cysts on the ovaries. I had no cysts, and I'm still being labelled with polycystic ovary syndrome, and no excess testosterone, no mood management issues. So I didn't actually exhibit any of the symptoms that I know a lot of women struggle with, which comes from like the estrogen dominant side of polycystic ovary syndrome. And actually I had estrogen, lower estrogen, but nobody checked that, right? So now I know that a lot of my symptoms are because of that. So I was just given this sort of diagnosis just to sort of get me gone, and that is exactly how I felt. So I felt really unheard, and I was told that because I was single and I wasn't wanting to have children at that point, not to worry about it. Not to honour the fact that I wasn't getting my cycle and it was completely making me feel out of balance. Any of you know, when you feel out of balance, it affects your whole life, right? I was just told that not to worry about it and to come back when I wanted babies, and they just give me FSH, which is something that's used to stimulate your ovaries if I was still having problems. It's a hormone that we naturally secrete to stimulate our follicular development, follicle stimulating hormone, and that I'd be fine. So the doctor at the time actually didn't know that. She didn't have a clue what was going on. And there is a very, very deep lack of studies and any sort of insight into women's health. It's much, much behind a lot of other systems that we're studying in the medical world. I'm not going to keep saying the medical world, in the Western medical world. So it's very much behind, it's very much misunderstood. She couldn't tell me why that was coming about, didn't want to investigate anymore. I was just told to go home until I wanted to have babies. So a year later, this was presenting more and more problems. A year later, I felt very alone, still wasn't getting my period, I was getting it randomly, and was now developing what is, I now know to be sort of what women associate with menopausal symptoms. So not being able to balance my heat, my temperature, getting hot flushes, rising energy, and a real despair, anxiety that I'd never experienced before. I'd never been somebody that had anxiety, and it was like a real deepness, a depth of despair. And if anybody's had low estrogen, they will know exactly what I mean. It's actually been a lot of doctors and other people have said that a lot of women that are taking antidepressants actually are probably low in estrogen. It's that kind of depressed, yeah, suicidal, very dark energy it can give you. So obviously at 33, something wasn't right. So I then went back to the doctor that checked my hormones, my thyroid, and saw that there was something amiss with my hormones, finally. So I've been through, since my teens, never ever having a hormone profile done. So if you're somebody that's suffering with unknown symptoms, I urge you to ask for a hormone profile, and this will be estrogen, progesterone, FSH, LH, and AMH. Now, AMH is something called anti-Müllerian hormone, which is again a very outdated test. There's nothing else that can show ovarian health, and it doesn't actually indicate ovarian reserve as much as a doctor will tell you that. If you actually understand what the hormone actually does, it's secreted by the follicles, and it actually indicates their health. And this isn't a black and white, you know, they're on or off. You can be told that your ovarian reserve will be low based on this one test, and that's it. Off you go, barren, just, you know, go and be quiet in a corner somewhere. But that isn't actually the truth. And I know a lot of women that are in my situation that have fluctuating ovarian activity. So their hormones change from menopausal symptoms to PMS. It's a real fun journey to be on. And that is because something else, something deeper is going on. Yeah, and that's what I'm really wanting to get across on this message. I know this from other women doing womb healing and from a more holistic background, and we know that there's more going on. So in our feminine system, we have actually 7 hormones, but the main ones are 4 hormones that I'm going to touch on, intricately balanced, working in a cycle. And this is much more than just your menstrual cycle, okay? In the modern world, we've been led to believe that this is dirty, you know, something to just wish away your period. Trust me, I did that for a long time when I had period problems. But it's actually the essence of who you are as a woman. This cycle influences every other thing going on in your body, your mind, your emotions. So it's really important that we get back to being in sync with that. And we would have been so much more in sync with nature before, you know, before our modern world with like fake lighting and screens and, you know, all being in our brain all the time and being completely disconnected from nature. So there is ways to get back to that more cyclical living. And that is the first thing that I started doing that I saw a real difference with. So obviously I was waiting to see a specialist, again, waiting for the Western medical system. And I didn't want to wait. I was told by a doctor that was actually a GP, and her specialization was actually not women's health. She told me, based on my one set of hormones, my one set of hormone analysis done, the levels once, so one hormone test, that I was very unlikely to get my period back and that I shouldn't expect fertility or periods to be there. So that was obviously devastating. Yeah, she didn't give me a reason why. She said that these things are just unknown and that I should just resign myself to that was it, and that I should just start taking HRT. Again, another taking hormones in to balance the system, which obviously wasn't going to balance it. And I'm not just knocking any of these things. I know that some women, including myself, turn to these things for assistance, but I think that it's really important that we see them as not healing the root cause, and they are in themselves causing other problems. Yeah, I will go more into HRT in another video and the issues that caused me with, but also the benefits I got for that short period of time. But she was basically telling me that there was nothing I could do to heal myself. And this is the part that I scream no to. My whole system says no. That is not true. We have got to stop disempowering women. And if you're listening to this, I want you to know that you 100% can heal yourself. It's just that we have forgotten what to do, and we are told in a world that completely dishonors everything feminine, flowing, you know, hormones, change, the fact that we change every month and from day to day. You know, we're called moody, hysterical. We're told to be crazy or over the top, or, you know, we're mocked for having hormones and mood cycles. And I think that whole sort of perspective, maybe this isn't the case for you, but if you're living in that perspective like I have my whole life, where you're told by the system that being a woman is not good enough, that you have to be like a man, you're supposed to be the same every day, you know, hide your period, don't let that stop you, you can't possibly take time off when you're on your period. I mean, learning our cycle and like living by that can be the change that could literally transform our lives. And for me, it really is. So it's learning how our cycle is. And I'll get more into that again in another video. I'm going to talk just cycle and the phases of our cycle and how we can honor that. But I think that within my own journey, so when I was waiting to see the doctor, I decided to take it upon myself to really find a way to connect back to my womb and listen to what was going on. Our wombs hold so much. Yeah, our wombs are a sponge. Our pelvic bowl is holding not only our sexual energy, but our creative life force that not only creates a baby, but also creates us. It also brings all of our creativity into the world. So imagine all that energy that is there, and if we're not in tune with it, if we're not aware of it, we're suppressing it. So from my experience, I was suppressing it through trauma. Think about all the lovers you've been with, maybe the ones that you didn't want to be with, but all that energy that we take into our womb space, that we take into our bodies, and maybe we've never ever cleared that energy. Like, we've never cleared that. We're connected with all these past lovers, all these people, all of that suppression of our voice as women. We know that that's in the collective. You know, the witch wound, women not having an equal place in the world. And this isn't a video bashing men or calling out any of that. I'm not trying to go into that too deeply today, but I'm just trying to give an indication of how you can see that all of that is suppressed. Yeah, all of the times you haven't been able to speak out, that you've been shamed for being too much, too loud, too all over the place. Yeah, how many of us have been told that we're all over the place and shamed for having hormones and mood cycles, for being menopausal, for having PMS? How many of us have been told that not only is that not okay, but it's also normal? How confusing is that? That PMS is normal, but it's not okay to express that in the world. It isn't okay to have time off for your period. It's not okay, but in the same way that it's just something we've got to get on with quietly, zipping it up, staying in our homes, not talking about it. And this is the sort of, I want to call it a revolution that I'd love to encourage here, is that we do talk about it. We do talk about our periods. We do start to honour our blood. And, you know, in the past, in some cultures, that is still honoured. Yeah, our blood, our bleeding once a month. So in the past, that would have been the oracle of the village, the tribe would have been women. And in their time of their period, they would have gone out into the red tent. They would have been somewhere special, and they would have taken the questions from the tribe, from the village, anything that they needed to know, like when to be harvesting, or, you know, another war coming, or where we needed to move for water. They would have taken those questions and they would have gone inward, because actually our bleed, our cycle, but that point of our cycle is our most intuitive. We're at one with nature. I don't know if you've ever felt that. And if you miss your period, like I do, when it comes, oh my gosh, do I feel that magic. I feel myself. I feel in touch with the earth. I can hear everything more, the birds, I can smell everything. I'm just so in tune with myself and with nature. It's incredible. So it's like, how can we get back to that and empower ourselves, that the Western medical system is not the place that's going to help us. We can heal ourselves. I've watched my body get back into a cycle. Still just slowly getting there, but I'm sensing, I know the signs that I get through my cycle now. I map them, I write them down, I honour them, I follow what is needed by my body. And that is all since I had my breast implants out and came off the pill. So those two things, sort of suppressing that system, are allowing it to start flourishing. So when I did eventually get to a doctor, after taking it upon myself, and I actually got my period back for a few months, and I've had this over and over when I really focused. I was actually doing a lot of Tantra yoga at the time, really getting into my womb, slowing down, removing stress, and these things allowed my flow to return. And when I did eventually see a doctor, I didn't actually see a doctor. When I eventually got a call, it was at the height of the pandemic, and I was waiting to see a specialist, and I hadn't been given any more information other than the awful doctor that I saw. And I'm not, again, I know there's a lot of fabulous doctors and specialists out there. I eventually did see a fabulous nurse. She called me up, and it was about 2 hours after I was supposed to have my call with the doctor, the specialist, the consultant. And she called me up, and I'd gone out. You know, it was like nearly 3 hours after the call. I'd gone out to the supermarket. I thought, okay, they're not going to call me today. It was like 6 p.m. or something. So I went out, and she called me. I had a missed, like a unknown caller, answered the phone. She said, oh, I'm just calling you. I'm the nurse. The consultant can't speak to you at the moment. We'll remake an appointment, but I'd like to go through your tests with you. And I told her that I was in the car park of Aldi, and she sort of saw that was fine to tell me, and then went through to tell me that my results indicated that I was postmenopausal, that I don't know how or when that happened, but I was in the menopause or postmenopausal, and that I would likely not get my period back, that I was infertile. So you can imagine this brought my whole world crashing down. And I was sat in the car, I remember it vividly, just sobbing down the phone to this woman, lovely, lovely woman. And I still remember feeling, instead of feeling like a curiosity as to why this had happened at my age that could have come across, I was just given complete disempowerment. And that isn't anything personal to her, it's the system that is giving that. But they were looking at, again, one set of hormones and an AMH level. This AMH that indicates follicular health or quality of your follicles or eggs. And it was indicative of a woman over 50, so postmenopausal. So obviously that leads to, there's obviously something going on there, right? But because we know so little actually about women's reproductive health, it's so difficult to do studies on women because it's such a changing thing, and there isn't the focus and the money there to do them. They're just not done. There wasn't any hope for anything I could do. There wasn't any curiosity about what might be causing it. That was just it. I was devastated, and I felt devastated for Sean at the time. Yeah, I really felt like I'm going to go home and tell him this. And we'd been at the position in our relationship where we'd already sort of started trying. We'd been talking about it. We knew that there was something out of balance within me and that maybe we should just get going. She said we should definitely do that, but that it was very unlikely that we would naturally get pregnant. And I've been told this many times, and I think this is really disempowering from two perspectives. Number one, it gives you no hope, because if and it's been shown in studies, there's actually an amazing TED talk that I'll drop below in the show notes, but it's been shown in studies that if a doctor is optimistic with a diagnosis, remember that diagnoses are just words, they're just labels given to try to understand something, so that you can be like basically pigeonholed. You're being pigeonholed, put in a box, and I really, really disagree with that, because it doesn't give you flow in your mind that there's options. Luckily I'm sort of more open than that, but I feel you if you felt completely shut down and put in a box. But it also addresses women from only the point of view of their fertility, and we have to stop doing this. I am not just my fertility. I need my flow and my cycle to be a woman. It's my expression of who I am. Yeah, we think that's just something that happens to us, but it isn't. It's so much more. It affects all of us. It affects our mind. It affects our intuition. It affects how we flow in life, how rigid we are. And so many of us have become rigid. We've become men. We've become every day being asked to be the same, wake up and do the same thing, carry it all, not flow, not slow down. You know, think about in our world that doesn't honour and value rest. That is yin, that's the feminine. Rest, flow, creativity, the unknown, the magic, the intuition. All of those things make us as women. And we as society, we don't value that. So we're all being men, we're in our masculine. I know this, I lived in my masculine for so long, thinking that was how I had to be. You know, I had my hormones suppressed by the pill, so I was a flat line like a man, and I just worked like a guy, like had to be all things every day. Now men work on a daily cycle of having their hormones, their calendar peak each day, and then come to rest by the evening. As women, we work on a 28 to 35 day cycle, you know, whatever your cycle is. We work week by week, coming to a peak and then slowing back down. Who honours that? You know, how difficult is that in the modern world to honour that? And you might be listening to this thinking, well, how can I do that? But there are ways we can start to allow that to come in. And being talked to, being told that there is no other choice, and I've been told that multiple times, why I actually stopped going at all to the specialists in the UK in the system, because it's heartbreaking, and your body hears that. Yeah, your body hears there isn't any other choice, and nobody can tell you that you cannot heal. Nobody. because not only is there not the studies, so I'll give you a little bit of a fast forward to, so it took a year for me to speak to the actual consultant. So a year, another year of not knowing what was going on in terms of what I could do. Yeah, I felt powerless. So luckily I started to find natural ways to heal myself. But when I have since seen other specialists, I've been told point of blank that there is only 1 to 5% chance that I will naturally get pregnant, and I should just stop trying and go on HRT. Now, again, there is not any studies that show that, and when they are, they're tiny, they're not backed by actual watching women as they develop. They're short studies. There's just so much lack of knowledge, and so then to have lack of knowledge in the Western medical system and then give women a sort of, that's it, you're done, diagnosis is not good enough. So the only way I see forward is for us to go to what we really know works. Now, one of the fabulous things that I've been having and experiencing that really helped me was acupuncture. Yeah, 5-element acupuncture. There are so many of these amazing holistic therapies out there, which are things that we would have done for years. Yeah, we would have had womb healers in the village. We would have had shamans. We would have had people that could help us with herbs. We would have been more in touch with our cycle. We would have been having our feet on the earth. All the things I talked about at the beginning of the video. And so I would welcome you here to share your story. So I've just given you a little snippet of mine there, and I'm on an ongoing journey. I'm really, really coming back to womb healing and getting back in touch with my body. And the more I do it, I see that this is really the answer. This is the missing piece. I shared on my Instagram the other day about womb healing being the missing piece. And I had many women message me to ask, you know, what is your story? And what does that mean? What can we do? So I will be sharing more and more about this, about the things that we can do, the amazing practices. You know, I've been really blessed to go to many different women's trainings to get back in touch with that shamanic, you know, herbal medicine woman healing. But really just to really start to listen, like your intuition as a woman is there. And if you're a guy watching this, then please support the women around you to be able to listen to themselves. Let's start to celebrate that. Yeah, let's celebrate. Let's not take a diagnosis and think that's it. There is always something you can do. You know, how many of us, as I said earlier, have forgotten and don't, and you know, we're not brought up knowing these things. It's been removed. It's only a few generations removed. It's still there somewhere, but removed from thinking that we can connect with our womb. Can we clear all that energy that we're carrying? You know, can we connect our voice and our womb? Can we start to flow in our life? Can we listen? Can we meditate and listen? Can we massage ourselves? Can we be with our bodies? Because the magic's there. The lessons are all there. And more I delve into this magical world along my own womb journey. You know, I've been there, I felt disempowered, I felt lost, and I have many days when I still feel like this. But as I delve into this womb journey, this womb healing, these ancient practices, the feminine arts, the lost feminine arts, I really, really feel an awakening of something that I already know. So this is going to be the basis of what we're going to cover in my women's circles, you know, in the course that I'm in the background crafting here to share with you. All these learnings I really want to offer to you and allow you to feel empowered. So do ask me about them. Do comment what you've done, how your journey is going. And this isn't to shame any journey within any system, and not at all. It's not saying that anything's wrong. It's just saying that there could be more here. You know, there is a returning to ourselves as feminine beings, to come together and share that. You can feel it rising. I think that if you're watching this, you'll know it's there. So some of the things, just briefly before I end, that have really helped me, that again I'll touch on more, that I'm going to expand, I'm going to share more and more. But slowing down is one of the keys. Yeah, slowing down in my life. Yes, I've been chronically ill, so I've had to, but I found that that's helped so much more than my other issues. You know, all these things are connected. Our energy levels, our hormone balance, our moods, you know, all of the system, our gut, they're all connected. So slowing down and having more quiet nature time is the first step, even if that's just a little bit each week. I urge you to do that. It really, really has changed my life, and I can feel the healing seeping in from that. Womb clearing is also another really big one. Moving, that intuitive movement each day. I do this every morning, come to my mat, you know, I come out to nature and I decide what my body needs. That might be flowing and dancing, getting some of that like flow energy back in our lives. It might be yoga, it might be taking a meditation, it might be just lying on the earth, it might be floating in the sea, it might just be some time in the bath. But really starting to honour what you need as a woman. So the more and more we come back to that and ask the question, like, what do I need? Like, what do I need in this moment? And carve out those things, even if it's like a little bit by little. Coming to these women's gatherings and learning from each other, sharing. Oh my gosh, sharing. Yeah, I'm going to end on that, the sharing. So please feel really called to ask. If you want to share, drop your story in the comments. This is an opening journey. So each week I'm going to try and delve into, well, I am going to delve into a different topic with me and other women. And we're going to share our stories. So if you've got a topic you want covered, you want to ask a question, come and do it. This is for you, this soul journey. So amidst the other things that make up the beauty of the soul show, there will be a thread coming through this, of this like womb wisdom, this feminine flow of our issues, our magic, of coming together. Sharing our stories is so important. So thank you for listening today. Thank you for joining me on this kind of a bit overcast day, one of the first overcast days we've had here in Mallorca. But thank you for being here. Thank you for honouring yourself and listening to this, for witnessing some of my story, and for, being here. Because even just being here and listening is all part of the journey. We start to allow it to come in. We start to allow a change, a returning. It's all happening. It's already happening. If you're here listening, it's happening. So I thank you. Namaste. I wish you a great day.